Long before today's major religions took shape, ancient India was a land full of thinkers, seekers, and wandering monks, searching for truth and meaning in life. Out of this deep spiritual environment emerged two extraordinary paths: Buddhism and Jainism. Both arose over 2500 years ago in the northeastern region of India, known as Greater Magadh. They grew from the same spiritual tradition called the śramana movement, a group of ascetics who turned away from ritual sacrifices and priestly authority to find truth through self-effort, meditation, and moral living. These two paths have much in common. Both questioned the authority of Vedas, rejected the idea of a creator god, and emphasized compassion, non-violence, and personal responsibility. Yet, each took a different approach towards the same ultimate goal: freedom from sufferings and rebirth. Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, meaning the awakened one. Born as a prince in Lumbini, near present-day Nepal, Siddhartha grew up surrounded by comfort and luxury. But his peace was shaken when he encountered sickness, old age, and death. These experiences deeply troubled him and made him question the meaning of life. Seeking answers, he left his palace, family, and royal life behind to find a way out of human suffering. After years of searching and deep meditation, he attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya. He discovered that all suffering arises from craving and ignorance. His awakening led him to realize the Four Noble Truths: that suffering exists, that suffering has a cause, and that suffering can be overcome, and that there is a path to end suffering. This path, called the Noble Eightfold Path, teaches how to live a balanced, mindful, and moral life through wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Following this path leads to nirvana, a state of perfect peace and liberation from the endless cycle of birth and death. The Buddha's teachings does not depend on any god for salvation. It is based on personal effort, awareness, and self-realization. Anyone can awaken through their own understanding and compassion. His followers take refuge in the Triple Gem: the Buddha, the Dhamma, or his teachings, and the Sangha, or the community of monks, nuns, and lay followers. Over time, Buddhism developed into two main traditions: Theravada, which focuses on personal enlightenment, and Mahayana, which emphasizes compassion and the liberation of all beings. Like Buddhism, Jainism also arose from the same spiritual search for freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Its central principle is ahimsa, or non-violence, which lies at the heart of all Jain teachings. Jains believe their faith is eternal, revealed again and again by enlightened beings known as Tirthankars, or ford makers, who show the path across the river of birth and death. The last and most famous Tirthankar was Vardhamāna Mahāvīra, a contemporary of the Buddha. Born into a noble family, Mahavira renounced worldly life to seek truth and liberation. Through years of meditation and extreme austerities, He attained Keval Gyan, or perfect knowledge. Like the Buddha, he did not claim to be divine, but a teacher who rediscovered the eternal truths. Jainism teaches that the universe has no beginning or end and runs according to natural laws, like karma. Every living being has an eternal soul called Jiva that is pure and filled with infinite knowledge and bliss. However, karma, seen as a fine substance, attaches to the soul due to one's actions, binding it to the cycle of birth and death. The goal of life is to purify the soul completely and achieve moksha or nirvana, a state of infinite peace and freedom. Ahimsa in Jainism is not just a moral principle, it is a way of life. Jains go to great lengths to avoid harming any living being, even the tiniest insects. Every act of truthfulness, kindness, and self-control helps to purify the soul and bring it closer to liberation. Buddhism and Jainism grew side by side and influenced each other in many ways. Both were founded by noble seekers. The Buddha and Mahavira lived around the same time in the same part of India. Both questioned the authority of the Vedas and the ritual sacrifices of the Vedic religion, teaching instead that purity and enlightenment come from within, not from rituals or birth. Both religions share a deep belief in karma and rebirth, the idea that every action has consequences that shape our future lives. In both, liberation is not granted by any god, but achieved through one's own effort, discipline, and awareness. Their teachings emphasize compassion, morality, and renunciation as essential for peace and freedom. Both founded strong communities with monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen, where householders supported the monastics and in return received spiritual guidance. Both also used local languages like Pali and Prakrit instead of Sanskrit, making spiritual wisdom accessible to common people. Above all, both traditions place great value on non-violence and meditation. The Buddha taught compassion and harmlessness to all beings, and Jainism raised non-violence to the highest ideal. Both see meditation as a path to inner clarity and peace, helping people free their minds from greed, anger, and ignorance. At their heart, both Buddhism and Jainism remind us that real peace does not come from external things, but from transforming our own hearts and minds. Despite their shared roots, Buddhism and Jainism took different approaches in their understanding of life and liberation. The biggest difference lies in their view of the self. Jainism teaches that every living being has a permanent soul or jiva, which is unique and eternal. This soul becomes divine when freed from karma through self-control and penance. Buddhism, however, teaches anatta or non-self, the idea that there is no unchanging soul. Instead, what we call a person is a flow of constantly changing physical and mental experiences. Liberation comes from realizing this truth and letting go of attachments and illusions. Their understanding of karma also differs. In Jainism, karma is almost like a fine material substance that clings to the soul and must be removed through strict discipline, fasting, and penance. Even unintentional harm adds karma. In Buddhism, karma is based on intention. What matters is the motive behind the action. A pure and kind intention brings good karma. A selfish or angry one does not. Because of this difference, Jainism often takes a stricter path of self-discipline, while Buddhists follow the middle path, avoiding extremes of luxury and self-denial. Jain monks may go to great lengths to avoid harming life, even sweeping the ground before walking, while Buddhist monks practice moderation, living simply and mindfully. Jainism also recognizes a long line of 24 Tirthankars, with Mahavira as the last. Buddhism, however, sees the Gautama Buddha as a unique awakened being who discovered the path through his own wisdom and compassion. In fact, the title Buddha isn't just a name, it's a state of awakening. And according to Buddhist traditions, there have been many Buddhas before him, and there will be more after him. Over the centuries, Buddhism spread far beyond India to Sri Lanka, Tibet, China, Japan, and across Southeast Asia, becoming a major world religion. Jainism, being more strict and monastic, remained mainly in India, though it has now reached global audiences as well. In today's world, both Buddhism and Jainism have much to offer. Buddhism appeals strongly to the modern mind because it focuses on understanding and transforming the mind rather than on rituals or blind belief. It aligns well with modern psychology and offers practical tools like mindfulness and meditation to deal with stress, anxiety, and emotional struggles. Buddhism also carries a universal message of peace and compassion, reminding us that happiness comes not from possessions but from how we live and relate to others. Modern forms of Buddhism, often called engaged Buddhism, encourages people to apply these teachings in daily life, serving others, protecting nature, and working for justice, while walking the path of mindfulness and compassion. Jainism too offers timeless wisdom. Its deep commitment to ahimsa, or non-violence, toward all living beings feels more relevant than ever in a world facing violence and environmental destruction. The Jain idea that every living being, even plants and tiny creatures, has a soul, encourages deep respect for all life. Jain philosophy also teaches Anekantavada, doctrine of the multifaceted nature of reality, or the idea that ultimate truth and reality are complex and that everything has many different aspects. This teaching promotes religious pluralism and intellectual tolerance and understanding, something our divided world truly needs. While Jain asceticism may seem strict, its message of simplicity and restraint is a powerful reminder that true happiness comes not from consuming more, but from desiring less. When we look at both Buddhism and Jainism together, they appear as two radiant paths that have guided humanity for over 2500 years. Both emerged from the same soil of ancient India, born from the same longing to rise above suffering and discover truth. Buddhism offers a practical path of mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, a way to understand the mind and live freely. Jainism offers an ethical vision of total nonviolence, self-discipline, and respect for all forms of life and belief systems. Together, they remind us that the journey to liberation, whether we call it nirvana or moksha, begins not in temples or scriptures, but within the human heart. Explore the incredible life of Siddhartha Gautama, the prince who became the Buddha. This book brings you his story, his teachings, and real-life lessons filled with timeless wisdom. It's easy to follow and deeply inspiring. Get your copy now. Just click the link in the description or in the pinned comment below.